Janet Ouko. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you
Karibu
too.
here, we fixed the education.
I know. I'm happy I have all the spanners with me. I carried
Right?
All the time.
I did, yeah.
Yeah?
I carried the toolkit.
Very good. Your namesake is going to give you the day, so we call her Jano Makoti. Only Jano Agedomo.
Yeah, I love that. Jano Makoti.
Come out of this, that's what she's now started being called. Yes, today's quote is from Lima Bowie, who is a Liberian Nobel Peace Laureate. She won it in 2011 and was credited for leading the women's peace movement in Liberia about 2 decades ago. And she said, we must take care of ourselves first so that we can be strong enough to take care of others.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And mental health, especially if you don't take care of your health, I mean, you're not even able to think for others. You're not even able to organize your thoughts as the way you organize them. Janet, I listen to you every day. So yeah, I think taking care of oneself is really, really important. And in every sense of the word, you know, like even the Bible says, love others as you. So there has first to be a measure, and the measure is how you treat yourself. That's how you're able now to even give out to others.
Oh, that's really good. Good reminder. But some of us learn late. A lot of people learn later in life.
Yeah, and sometimes we just say it, that take care of others. But in real life, we are not taking care of ourselves. We are taking care of so many other people. And sometimes when you retreat in your house is when you realize, I don't have gas. But if you think about the amount of money that you've been dishing around, you will not be understanding how you're managing in the house. So yeah, I think it's something that people really need to take seriously. Like, first take care of yourself, and then you can be able to look out for others.
Yeah, well said.
Very well said. Janet, the past couple of weeks, there's been some up and down conversation with regards to exam funding.
Yes.
Okay? So first there was, they forgot to fund the exams. Then the CS John Buddy came and said, come on, no, there's money for funding this year's exams. But we're having a conversation about next year's exam. So I want us to start from there, because it's been the current conversation about funding of exams. Yeah. And the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, I'd like to give him the full title, FCPA, John Buddy, said last week and spoke to Rukia of NTV and said, the issue of funding for this year's exam, sorted. For future exams, there's a discussion. Listen to what he said.
First of all, let me respond by saying our learners will be able to do the exams. And there are going to be 3 examinations this year, largely, which is going to cost almost a third or 50% more than the exam for last year. We have JSS, grade 6, we have grade 9, and also the KCSE. So they are going to sit for the exams. Already the procurement is going on, and the cabinet has approved a specially permitted or special kind of procurement for the same. There is a budget in 2024-2025, which is largely going to cater for the examinations, which will be done in October and November. In the event there will be inadequate funding for that examination, there will be a procedure of providing for that money. So there should be no worry. The parents should not panic. Exams will be done. But we are saying for the next year's examinations, we have to review the cost. We have to review the cost in the sense that we must ask ourselves, why should we pay examination fees for all students, including those who are in private schools? We should be subsidizing examination for those who cannot afford it, especially in the public schools. So there is a whole question of review of the concept of paying for examination fees. But that, once it is concluded, we will make sure there is adequate and sufficient funds for examination. The Ministry of Education must come up with a criteria of identifying those who can pay examination fee. For example, if your child is learning in a private school where you pay 300,000, 1 million shillings in a year, honestly, can't you pay 5,000 for examination fee for that child? Why should you make Kenyans, taxpayers, some of whom can barely eke a living, to pay examination fee for your child?
Janet, why are you tisk when he's talking? Tisk.
Wow. Because some things are too important to be discussed as casually as the Honorable Minister is discussing them. And I would want to implore on him and his fellow ministers, them that do not know why the government is paying for examinations, they should meet somewhere, educate themselves on why a government took a decision to pay for children. Now, when they know, they should come and meet those of us who have known for a very long time why government must pay for the examinations. To begin with, the examination is not the responsibility of a child. There is no child that decides, I want to do the examination. It is only the government who knows why the exams are being served. The cost of doing KCPE is 800 Kenya shillings, the cost of registration. Many children will not afford. The cost of doing KCSE is at least 5,000 Kenya shillings if you're doing 7 papers. If you're doing 8 papers, it is 5,400. Now, many children will not afford that amount of money. Let me not even say children. Let me say parents, because children do not have no money. Parents will not afford that amount of money. Now, the wisdom behind it is we have a government that is implementing 100% transition policy. Mm-hmm. I do not know where Honorable Mbadi's statements sit with this 100% transition policy that the government has been implementing, and this particular government still says it is implementing. Because what is the value, even for us citizens, what is the value of educating a child for 4 years and only that they cannot be able to sit for exams? And these are problems that we had in the sector. They are not brand new conversations. They are not unique to Kenya Kwanza government. Mm-hmm. We have existed in this space. It is that children, 30% of them may not even be able to afford to register. So why were you investing money to put them through education for the 4 years in the first place? So I don't have a problem with Honorable Mbadi, because I know maybe he has not existed in the education space. He has only existed in the money space. Accountants are allowed to argue the way he's arguing because he's arguing for the money. But where is his counterpart in charge of education? Mm-hmm. He's the one who is supposed to have put reason in the money person in the first place. How do you sit pretty as a minister for education and listen to your finance counterpart making such kinds of statements? Mm-hmm. First and foremost, there is no particular school in this country where anybody pays 1 million shillings and they do KCSE. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, some people overhear conversations in the pubs and they want to bring them in policy tables. It is not acceptable.
And it's beyond misplaced priorities, right? It runs deeper than that.
And you know, when he's the finance minister is telling us that there is no money, and every weekend, every day we are treated to people dishing out millions. So we are asking, why? Where is money? I mean, why are you saying there is no money and we are seeing people carrying millions in bags? Who does not have money? If you do not have the money, please keep quiet. We know there is money in this country because we can clearly see it, physically seeing. When did you last see people carrying, contributing 15 million in one Harambee sitting? When did you last see? We are witnessing this weekend. Yeah. Where is he coming from to say there is no money? No. If he doesn't know where money is, as we know, there is no money. And in any case, the conversations we are having here are not subject to Kenya Kwanza manifesto. These are issues of the Constitution. We refuse to have conversations with Kenya Kwanza based on their manifesto, based on their motivation books that they are reading, and we are demanding, can you govern this country based on the Constitution? We are not going to govern this country based on what one man thinks. That you wake up today, you are thinking it is Hustler Fund. You wake up tomorrow, you're thinking, no, 5 billion of Hustler Fund is bad debt. And you come and entertain us here with a conversation that there is no money. Let people get serious. What we are saying is, this country has not started being run by the Kenya Kwanza government. We have seen presidents. We know what they have done. We have seen investments that serious presidents have put in sectors such as education and in health. This one is foreign, and we are saying, no, you are not going to govern us from your head. You will govern us from the Constitution of Kenya.
For how long has the government now been funding exams?
Since Fred Matiang'i, because Fred Matiang'i is the one who was the CS for education when the Uhuru Kenyatta gave this waiver for examinations. And it has had tremendous impact on nothing else. You know, what this government does not understand is that we, as a sector, we are not asking for too much. We have seen them. We have seen their body language. We know what they know and what they want to do, and they lack goodwill. But we are saying, stop even imagining, stop planning, stop thinking. Things have already been thought for you. Just leave the sector the way you found it. Just that. Don't improve it. Just leave the sector the way you found it. Where did you find the sector? You found the sector making very good progress with Article 43 of the Constitution, which is about socio-economic rights and making sure that everybody has a right to education. You found the sector making very good progress with Article 53F, that every child has a right to education. That is the background. We are not asking that you sit somewhere with your 20 advisors and you advise us afresh. No. Just implement Article 53, just implement Article 43, just implement Article 55. That requires the state to take affirmative action to ensure that even the youth get skilling. Look at what this particular government has done in higher education, for example.
Before we go to higher education, just hold that thought, because higher education is a thread that we need to pull at very seriously. But I was going to ask you, does this infringe, like you've hinted towards, on the right to education? Because education hasn't been free for a long time. It's started creeping up with a fee here, a fee there for an activity there. Yes. But does all of this infringe on a right to education? One. Number two, capitation is not being released. So even if we were to see them pay for examinations and capitations haven't been released, what guarantee do we have that that money would come?
You know, just when we were
released in full, sorry.
Just when we were getting used to the shock that this government thought that 22,000 shillings that Uhuru Kenyatta was paying
was too much.
And despite all the feedback that they have received even from the school heads, because we are not supposed to be implementing education retrogressively, which is what we are doing. We are going back on gains that we have made. And this government is aware and knows, because when I say this government is aware and it knows, it's because I know there are certain experts within that sector that I have sat with for years, in forums, in spaces, in task forces. And we appreciate for sure that levies worldwide are the biggest barriers to education. Levies. It is not even girl child pregnancy. It is not female genital mutilation. It is levies. It is the biggest barrier to education world over. So the efforts
and all those
and everything that is charged in school.
Right.
If you want half of the class not to come to school tomorrow, tell them that we need 150 shillings, and you will see for yourself. And there are children who will stay at home. Let me give you a very close example. Is that about 3 weeks ago, I received a call from Peter Kibukosia Secondary School, and the parent was saying that we have not, 17 children have not been registered for Kenya's secondary certificate for secondary education, KCSE, and I'm like, why? Because for me that is a very serious travesty of justice.
Right.
And they told me no, we were sent away for fees. You know, we were sent away for fees. So by the time our parents are haggling here, there, before they get their hands on about some 2,000 Kenya bob, the registration has already been done, and the portal has already been closed. I'm talking to you about 17 children that I intervened. I have the list here. And those children were enrolled by NEC. So this is one secondary school in Nairobi. Can you imagine how many more?
For an exam registration fee anyway?
They had not been sent home for the exam registration fee, for other fees. Now the school fees.
For others.
It's arrears for other school fees. So you can imagine that this is one school and 17 children who are going to miss out on KCSE. Can you imagine that this child, their whole life, this is the climax, you know, of their basic education, but they will not write that very important examinations. And for those who are taking KCSE casually, I would want to tell them that you are doing that because you're in a place of comfort. That even if you don't do it this year, you can do it next year. I want to tell you that there is a child who, if they miss KCSE this year, by next year, you will not have them. They'll either be in drugs, they'll either be married, they'll be... So it's really a very serious conversation that we are having right here. And I feel so bad that the people that are put on very serious spaces, such as policy spaces, are joking with people's lives. They're joking with households. Your mother has invested everything to take you all the way to Form 4, but there is one person who says that without 2,000 shillings, you cannot be able to sit that particular examination. And so when I see what Kenya Kwanza is doing, when I see the thoughtlessness in which they are driving the education sector, I am like, please do not destroy it Father, please do not destroy it, Father. Stop even thinking. Don't do anything. Sack all the advisors you have. Let them not advise anything. Can the sector run as it were, the way it was running? If you found money being sent to school, don't even bother what. The sector is well structured.
Continue operating it the way it is.
The way it was.
I have a question, though. Why is it so expensive to administer an exam? Why 5,000 shillings for KCSE or 5,400? That's so much money per child. What's an exam? You set the exam, you print the exam, you transport the papers,
Yes.
you administer the exam, you mark the exam.
Yes.
Why is it costing 5,000 per child?
All those things you mentioned.
I have not
child.
really like exerted
You're not
myself on the
marking
what
an
are the
exam
cost
per child.
elements.
You're marking an exam for all 1 million of them, right? You're printing 1 million.
You're paying those people marking the exams. You're paying the people setting the exams. You're paying
Why
the
you-
people administering the
Till
exams.
You're paying the transport. of them.
5,000 times 1 million. How much is that?
5B.
There you go. Why is it costing us 5 billion shillings for an exam alone?
Yeah, I think it's a conversation about how else can we really become efficient? Because while at it, we have entertained or at least seen conversations from the teachers that mark the exams, complaining about how they were not paid. And, so even still within that 5 billion that you're mentioning, you can still see that it is a squeezed space of resources that people are operating, under. But even without, probably that is a conversation that now we need to start picking up and mulikaing. What exactly are the cost elements? What are the cost elements for you to arrive at 5,000, 400 shillings? What does that, take care of? So the tragedy here is if that cost is transferred to the parent. I can tell you for a fact, if we transfer that cost to the parent and we have no justification to transfer that cost to the parent. If you want to transfer that cost to the parent, sit us down and tell us at what point did you stop implementing 100% transition policy? What are you thinking about levies? Sort of the whole philosophy of Kenya Kwanza, the whole thinking of Kenya Kwanza about critical sectors, including the health sector, is lopsided.
It is.
So lacking an understanding, lacking background. For me, when I watched, because that particular day I was watching the PS presenting to Parliament a budget that doesn't have examinations. I actually pinched myself and wondered, is this the PS basic education or what is the problem? Do you know he knew? So it's sort of they had this conversation somewhere and decided this year we are not. In fact, even for this year, it's shame. It's because people shouted at them. Otherwise, they would still not have paid. They threatened. He was told, no, go back and bring, add, fix it. So they had a conversation somewhere without even thinking, why is this money here, first of all? If we do not put this money here, what is the consequence? What will happen to the sector? Can you believe that? And so
I think it's a deliberate thing. Last year it was about school feeding.
Yes.
So they went to Parliament without the school feeding budget being catered for, and there was a whole hue and cry, and it was put back. This year again, it's education. Hue and cry, it's put in, which brings me to what I'm heading to is we need to question this money that goes into education. 701 billion shillings, for example, earmarked for education in the next year. 7.1 billion shillings going to primary education. Free primary education, 7 billion shillings. And then I come and ask, but then one exam, 5 billion shillings. If free primary education for all those classes is 7B, why is the exam for one class 5 billion? Are we utilizing this 701 billion shillings in the right way? Are we getting value for our money by putting over, it's 701 billion shillings on paper, but in true sense, it's over 1 trillion shillings that goes into our education. Basic education, 1 trillion bob. Do we get value for money?
I don't think we do.
And when you're thinking about it, you need to see and to listen from the heads of schools. How your 1 trillion, how much really hits the child? Because and when I see this government working so hard to demolish or to destroy the capitation grant, I look at them and I wonder, you guys, I mean, We're not operating in isolation. This is what the globe is doing. Globally, capitation grants, proven and trusted systemic funding of education. You know that. But we have a president who believes in tokenism. And that is why he's comfortable withdrawing money from projects that are planned for, projects that can be audited, and investing the money in tokens. He's happy carrying around millions of shillings and you take this one, you take this, and people clap. Well, boss, you can't do that. You better be a believer of systems. You better be a believer of systems. And even if you don't believe in systems, we're not going to allow you to destroy the systems that other presidents and other people have invested and put in place. You go do your small things where you want to do, but leave the education sector here. Let me tell you, when President Ruto came in and we started struggling with capitation. Capitation for secondary school was 22,000. He, on one stroke of a pen, reduced it from 22,000 to 16,000. And people still did not, we were struggling to understand him because, the way he talks like he's a phenomenal man and, only for us to see him handing the money to members of parliament, so now members of parliament in bursaries. Who does that? How do you disable a system to transfer it to tokenism, monies that cannot be audited? We do not have criteria. How don't you think that we should get all that monies from all those bursaries and bring it to this capitation grant system, where a child just gets up, they shower, and they go to school, and they find everything there, the books and everything. Nobody in this country needs bursaries, and there is no parent who needs to queue anywhere under this hot sun so that they're given $1 million bob by the member of parliament and they are clapping. This is their money first and foremost. It was their money. You're so right. What exactly are we doing? And why we are at it? Last week we saw 22 billion. I think there was an announcement to the effect that 22 billion had been released. And come and see what the head teachers are writing. Yeah, to me here,
87 shillings.
There is an entire 87 shillings that hit my account.
Wow.
So I do not know. Let me tell you, heads of schools, the worst job to have in the country right now is being a head teacher.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you cannot send children to school because you're making the government look bad.
You can't send them home.
You cannot send them home. Parents also are saying, no, we saw 22 billion being released. So unless you're eating the money, but the head teachers are at pains to say, one of them wrote to me and told me, Ouko, I got an entire 16,000 Kenya shillings.
Clean.
16,000.
To run a school.
To run a school. Notwithstanding that last term, we did not get money. We got some very little. Where are the accountabilities? Even when government sends 22 billion shillings, I want evidence. I want evidence that it is actually 22 billion Kenya shillings that was sent. Because we have a government that says one thing and does the other.
And we're going to get into that after the break. But just before we go on the break, I want to play devil's advocate with John Badi's statement. There's no one doing KCP, KCSU's paying $1 million in fees. It's true. However, he does bring a point that should the state be paying for children in private schools to do their examinations, whereas that money maybe could, I don't know where they want it to go, but it could go elsewhere. And private here is not, for example, community-based. I'm forgetting the name for the schools that are not public schools, but they're also...
UPBET, the alternative provision for basic education.
Yes, those. I mean private schools. You know,
okay.
the traditional
What's
one.
private?
What's
high-cost private?
High-cost private, yeah.
Private.
That's what I mean, high-cost private.
And it's high cost to who? When you're a minister and paying $1 million, it is not high cost to you. But when you're a mamambonga and you're taking your child to a 15,000, it is high cost to you. So so what category exactly?
So basically, what you're asking is, should children who are not in the public education system be supported with exam fee?
It is not me.
I'm looking at the CS's thought process, and I'm thinking, if there is a place where you may have a point, it could be there. Not because they don't deserve to do examinations, but especially and I'm trying to really
the same way
to
we
really
don't send capitation to private schools.
Yes. Should we be paying exam fees for private schools? And I'm really trying to contextualize the private in this case, because there's a lot of schools that are small, but they
you're doing well. You're doing very well.
Melo point yangu, because I don't mean a private school that's filling a gap of a public school. I mean a private school.
And the beauty here is that we have a framework. We have a framework. It is not me that has said. It is the Constitution that has said.
Right.
You know, the responsibility of educating every child has been placed on the state. We cannot go around it. We cannot say because you are white. We cannot say because you are yellow. Every child. It is the responsibility of the state. And you see, it is this particular state that has been encouraged by the Constitution in Article 55 to take affirmative action. Affirmative action includes planning properly. Affirmative action includes bringing all this data to bear. That we know that you guys are in this segment and therefore bring all that data to bear.
Janet, let's take a break. But remember, the state has a curriculum. The state has registered schools and has come with a framework for registering schools. So the state has met its responsibility. Let's take a break. We'll be back. It's 8:30. Janet Ouko, an education expert, is our guest this morning. Education and the budget. How much is going into it and how much should go into it? We'll be back in a moment.
Right, so we have some feedback on YouTube just as we continue our conversation with Janet Ouko. It's an emotive topic, to be honest, because these are children's lives and futures. And a lot of people on YouTube are wondering, Janet, number one, Julius Ouko, this lady should be Nairobi Woman Rep. She's so passionate and knowledgeable about education. Aya, mwingine hapa anasema, why isn't she the CS of education? That's Purity Kinyanjui. Diplomat KE, Janet is making a lot of sense. Janet Jacob is asking whether the CS even knows what he's doing, I think, alluding to what we talked about. The CS was having an interview on NTV. Education system in Kenya is a hoax. This is Mayu 89. I can't fathom a situation where you educate students with such exorbitant fees and even organizing for attachments to better their skills becomes a challenge. Very well said. Julie Muya, I agree. Public school or private, what does the law say? Let's go by that. Everyone deserves government services equally.
Right.
So a lot of people agreeing, and even as Mariam goes into more feedback, you'll tell us why you're not going to be CS or woman rep.
True. There's only, did you read this one about question, do we have private children in Kenya? That's from Joseph Kilin. Yeah, they're private children.
And you know the suit that made the new funding model get overturned. It was on equity. On equity issues. You cannot like classify or stratify people in social classes. The Constitution says no. Everyone is
Everyone
equal.
is equal and should be treated equally. Amos, is the name Amos or Amos? Amos Nganga says, this government is messing everything. It's high time we send the whole government home. We are mechoka.
It's because it's education and health.
Even pick up.
Education and health touches on every household.
Our front page of the Daily Nation yesterday, Janet, was about university. Okay? Just talking to very number of students who, some of them are talking about dropping out of school, some of them are talking about the challenges that they are facing just because they were placed in the wrong band. For example, it profiled a child who went to Lukenya school. Their father worked at Lukenya as a janitor. And so this girl got a scholarship through Lukenya school, passed very well, went to Bishop Gatimu Ngandu Girls National School, passed very well, was admitted to university, filled out all those things, and then she was placed in band 4, where she has got to pay over 150,000 shillings a year for her university education. She's like, my parents cannot afford this. I'm trying everything I can in school to try and just raise small bits of money here and there, but I still can't raise the amounts that's needed.
Right. Because that system said, ulienda Lukenya. It's giving rich.
Kuna pesa mahali.
Yeah, kuna pesa mahali. Bijigandu.
And it's a public school. You know, Bishop Gatimu is a public school. You know, from ECD to university education, we have seen this government implement one strategy: defunding education. Defunding education, minimizing by day, every day, the amount of money that government wants to spend on education. That is what is at play when it comes to higher education. Because the strategy there is to like make things look like they are rosy. You know, we are changing. You know, we are changing from this to this because data, because statistics, because all that is lip service. lip service. And I'm saying this, I'm an authority. I sat in that task force and I know what the new funding model is and what it is not. But let's get to the bottom of things. But why did we need to change? Why did we need to change? That is the first question that we asked. And we were told government could not be able to send all the amount of money that is required. So problem number one. Problem number two, universities are in debt. And I ask, universities are in debt, debts that did what? Every Kenyan is in debt. I am servicing a loan as I sit here. So because universities are in debt, debts that we do not know what they did. So now you raid households and so that you bail out universities. What business are we doing? A responsible government tells parents, universities are in debt, debts that did this. They're responsible debt. You parade towards those people that have taken responsibility for making sure that a certain university that was afloat is in debt. But that is not what we will see. We will see people continuing to stay put in offices. We will not see universities selling the property that they took. We were in this country someplace between 2014 and 2016. Every university was buying a building here in town.
Yep.
Every. Okay, towers and land and what? So when you are in debt, what do you first do? You first sell what you bought. And you get yourself, you don't raid parents. You do, that is not what you do. But let's not even stop thinking about that. The whole idea is that instead of confronting the challenges that face the university, because this government does not have the temerity or even probably the muscle or the brain power to concentrate and sit down and think about what solutions do we offer in universities. The quickest solution is we throw a chunk of the burden to the parents, and we call it a sexy name, that it is a new funding model. Orphans are going to get 100%. How many orphans do you have in this country? So that then you're telling us orphans will get 100% coverage while everybody else carries a burden. Let me tell you, there was nothing wrong with the previous funding. We have gone through that system. And what I cannot understand is how do you tell someone that medicine, like for an example, or dental surgery, it was the highest cost. When last year but one, this country saw an unprecedented amount of money being charged in degree courses in this country. Dental surgery in Moi University, for example, costs about 720,000 Kenya shillings. Then come and hear this, that they sat down with the president and they negotiated a discount. Excuse me? How do you negotiate a discount if really the cost elements, were calculated based on actuals? So when you cut for the president a discount of 15%, who caters for those costs? It's a hoax. It is a hoax. Compare ourselves with the region. How much is the same cost in Makerere University, for example, costing? It's costing 480,000. So where are we coming from to charge 720,000 Kenya shillings? We must have these conversations. And these conversations, we must have them. And no wonder the cost of programs that are flying all over the place, that all of a sudden it is now 420, it is 360, and the government is meeting this cost and the parent is supposed to meet. Who said that? And I have said that it is high time that parents with children in universities come to the table. Don't say that you're parents of adults. You're parents of adults, but you're the people who are being met by these fee structures, and you're the ones who are showing up in every CDF offices begging. Every parent in this country is a university course away from becoming a beggar in WhatsApp. How did we start again going back to harambes in universities? And that is why we're asking William Ruto, what was not working? We have not had harambes until you became president. We are now having harambes to fund university education. Why are we doing that?
They'll tell you, Janet, when we were paying 16,000, 32,000 shillings a semester, it was because there was a silent government paying the rest for you.
The differentiated unit cost.
So does this qualify to be defunding for education, to be defunding education? Is the government now saying, no, we are tired of carrying this burden?
That's it.
And it is
That's
not
exactly
true. And it is not true. The government did not even pay it's part of responsibility. And it's why this conversation is coming, because universities are saying the government has also not been paying. So the universities, went down and down and down. That is for a fact. But what we are saying is that it is not acceptable for us to entertain defunding for education. Let us come to the table and wonder, if the previous government was spending, for example, maybe 18%, why will your government want to spend 10%? Who are you?
That you're going to spend that.
That you're going to spend less. Yeah. Where do you want to take this money? You know, that is a conversation that we must have there. And by the way, I know for sure that the Constitution does not require the state to 100% fund education. So higher education and TVET are relying on goodwill from government to implement articles of the Constitution that requires government to take affirmative action to ensure youth access education and training. So we are here speaking about the youth. When you hear William Ruto defunding higher education, he is targeting the youth. Yeah. There are so many people, the people who are not going to school right now, the misery universities, because you cannot sit for exams when you have not paid your school fees. And then we want to wonder why Gen Z are on the road. It is them that are being targeted for defunding. You know that?
Janet, I wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
Paint two scenarios. One, if we continue this way, this is what you foresee happening in the next few years.
Yes.
Two, should they come to their senses, God, if you can hear us, this is the first thing that government would need to address.
Yes.
So one, if we continue down this path where we're defunding education, where we're disrupting education, where we're co-opting education, whatever you want to say, paint a picture of what this does in the long run for institutions, for our children, and then paint a picture where should there be some sense, the way you're saying, should you come to the table and everybody agrees, stop, halt, this would be the first thing that would need to happen in order to get back on track.
I'm very afraid to think retrogressively because when I think in the absence of access to education for all children, I cannot entertain small girls crossing the road left, right, center in pregnancies. I cannot think about that. I don't want to even think about that. And this assault is all the way from early childhood, because you've seen governors saying you are not sending money to counties. ECD is a devolved function. So if there is no money sent to counties, ECD has been the first casualty, because most governors believe ni kwenda tu kuibia watoto hapo songs and dance and you know, and it is finished. And that is the foundation. So when we do not take care of the foundational building of children, what do? We affect their ability moving forward in the upgrades. Their numeracy and their literacy skills are thoroughly affected. So we start seeing retrogression. You remember there's a time where watoto walikuwa narudia sana, you know, you repeat. Why? It's because we had not sorted our foundational skills. But with the vibrancy of early childhood and education, then those challenges go reducing. And I don't know why Kenyans don't sit down and they do the loss. You know, the loss. Because we should actually start treating our public budget like the way we treat our finances. That when a child retakes a year, what does that mean to us as a country? When a child goes all the way to standard 7 or grade 7, and then they drop out, what does that mean to us? The amount of resources that we had spent supporting them all the way from early childhood through to grade 7. Now come to the university level. I have been in school without 10 shillings, because when we were going to school, it was during Chacha's time. And Chacha could take his time without sending the money, but he would send eventually. At least that was a good part. But the first 2 weeks were really difficult for comrades, because the only thing your parent knows is that there is money in school. So they would probably give you 500 bob for fare when the shule ukutane na Chacha. Then Chacha takes 2 weeks without coming. So I can imagine how those 2 weeks used to look like. I can even imagine how severally we could go to Post Bank, because we were not understanding. Chacha has issued a statement saying he sent the money, but the money is not with us. And I cannot go back to school because I don't even have fare to go back to school. When I go back to school, what will I eat? I don't even have 5 shillings. I have coppered the mamamboga. You know, there used to be mamambogas, you know, in the streets. Ouko. You have coppered until the mamamboga does not want to see you anymore. I always put myself in those shoes of those comrades, because their situations have not changed. Their parents are struggling as my parents were struggling. And therefore, the last person who I expect to be making such drastic changes to affect comrades is William Ruto. He's a beneficiary of that boom. By looking at him, I can tell he went to school during either boom and partly, I don't know whether he was found by loan. He ought to sit us on this table and make those arguments he's making right now. Why didn't he? Why does he think he merited being paid for? And other children, he doesn't think that it's time for him to drop the ladder for children not to, get to their full potential. Honestly speaking, the situations have not changed. If you read the data that these people are reading about poverty levels, and then you come and see the decisions that they are making, you will wonder, are we connecting? Or it is
you're
just
conflicted.
It is conflicted, and you get an impression of people who probably want to leave resources for doing other things. Choppers we will buy, infrastructure projects we shall do because there are our huge cuts there. And we are telling them, hey, good people, this is not your country alone.
Even this education, they eat a lot. But Janet, you are part of the solution. According to a special gazette notice that I'm looking at, dated 16th of September last year, in which the president constituted a national committee to review the university education funding model. You are appointed to be a member. You mlikuwa wengi.
129.
You are in a work stream that was called Work Stream on the Review of the Cost of University Academic Programs.
Yes.
And you are one of, how many were you in this work stream? Again,
you were about
many.
30 something.
Okay. So what did you come up with? Because you had 8 weeks from the point.
I know my members of the task force looking at me are wondering why I'm out of order to discuss task force reports. But excuse me, we finished the work. You're not saying anything about the report. What do you want us to do? Yes, we did. Yes, we did a report. And when I saw last week, COOPS opening the portal and not putting the cost of programs so that the learners wanachagua tu without knowing the cost of programs. And I asked, why don't you put the cost of programs? Because the task force already finished its work. We already have. There are communications or body language seeming like the government adopted the report. Why didn't you put the new worked cost of programs? Why didn't you put it? And nobody has got the answer. But see, how are we managing this country? How are we managing? Don't we think that these children deserve fair administrative action?
So this
how
is one
do you
of the
select a
recommendations
course?
that you made,
I was just going to ask you what recommendations.
That COOPS puts the cost against each
It is not even a recommendation of the task force. In the interest of fair administration of justice, a learner is supposed to see the cost that they want, see if they qualify, and also look at it based on the cost, because cost is a reality, and considering that this government also went to court and overturned the ruling about the new funding model. You don't want to put your parents, because these people, remember, are not children anymore. They know their circumstances at home. If a course is costing 600,000 and they know their realities at home, they would probably say, no, this one, I may not be able to afford it. Let me go to one that is costing 400. You know those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
So
tell us the recommendations, but first let's hear, there's a caller on the line. Okay. Who's the caller?
John from Nyandarua. All right, good morning, John.
John from Henny.
Yeah, morning. This is John from Henny.
Cash crop ya Nyandarua?
Yeah, Nyandarua ni mzuri kabisa. The weather is fantastic.
No, uliza cash crop ya Nyandarua.
Cash crop ya Nyandarua ni viazi.
Kama kawaida. Swali yako for Janet?
Kama kawaida na minji. And carrots and milk.
Yes.
Exactly. So how are you?
We're good. What's your question for Janet? I'm a comment.
Now, first of all, is to congratulate that wonderful lady, because she's giving us the right policies on education, because our education is messy. Let me call it messy. For one, this is the country that continues to change education policies after every decade. We had a system, then it was changed, I don't know, to 844. Now we have a new system. Well, when we were growing up, we used to have the same education system with Uganda and Tanzania. We used to have an examination called the East African examination. Today, we have a system that we even don't understand. So my point is, time has come because of the problems we are seeing in education. that we should have a conference on how to manage the education sector in Kenya. For one, I don't understand why we should be having bursaries. We should not be having bursaries at all, because education should be free. And when we say free, totally free. When people were going to the university a few years ago, we used to have loans that used to cater for the students. Students used to eat at the university. I don't know what happened. So it is my belief that education should be free from nursery up to university level.
It's possible.
We should not have this discussion about funding at all.
Thank you, John. In the interest of time, let's leave it there. I think the point is home,
okay.
Janet can respond to that. You know, let it be free all the way. I mean, there are countries that actually have implemented this and it works.
There are, but I think also it's good to moderate a little bit and say, let's not argue with the Constitution unless we want to put out a referendum. Education is free from 0 to 18 years, says the Constitution and says the Basic Education Act. You see that? And then for higher education, we are saying it is affirmative action. You know, affirmative action. Really looking at the plight of the youth. The government must put in place affirmative action to ensure that youth access education and training. I have not said that. It is a Constitution in Article 55, you know? So the only ask we are asking the government, can we run this? Is it possible to run this country from the Constitution? Is it possible? Is it possible so that we are able to audit you? That this is where we were. Like, for example, we had hit 98%, you know, transition levels. Where are we now? It's something different. Our accountabilities must be around something that we can hold you accountable to. But the shift that we are seeing right now, removing money from places that are systemic, places that we can be able to audit, to places that no one knows, holes that it is only you who knows the criteria that you have used to identify that today we are taking 17 million to Embu. Tomorrow we are taking, it is only you that knows the criteria that you have used. It is only you that knows the source of that money. I do not know what the EACC is doing. I honestly do not know why we have decided to disable some of these institutions. Some of these people must be asked, we know your salary. It's barely $1 million.
Sorry to hold you here, Janet, in the interest of time.
Yes.
What was the main recommendation that you made with regards to university education funding?
The main recommendation is that we agreed that universities have been charging arbitrarily fees to parents, not justified. And not justified, why? Because we are not comparable to our peers in the region. It is not comparable to the private universities around here. So we needed to ask ourselves, what exactly is it that we are doing so differently, that we are charging so expensively? We needed to understand. So
it needs to be reviewed, basically.
It doesn't need to be reviewed. Program. It must. This is a must. It must be reviewed so that then the cost on households becomes easy.
Okay.
Let's end it there.
But the funding model remains.
Well, I have my own disagreements with the funding model, and every Kenyan has had disagreements, but a few people in government believe that they must force it down the throats of comrades. We want to see how they do it.
Okay. Janet Ouko. Janet is the real leader. Yusuf was written reader. Janet is the real leader we are seeking for as youth in this country.
Yes.
It's very difficult for students in the university. Tunainama sana, that's Eric Fidel.
It's skipping a meal,
basically. But thank you.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We are fixing the nation, one conversation at a time. It's 9 a.m.